The wooden stage creaked under 8-year-old Madonna Louise Ciccone's bare feet, and for a moment she thought she might run right off the stage at St. Frederick's Elementary School gymnasium. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely stand still in her modified leotard, covered in green fluorescent paint that glowed under the harsh gymnasium lights. 300 people stared up at her, teachers, parents, kids from school who'd always ignored her, all waiting for the sad little Italian girl whose mother had died to either perform or flee. Behind the curtain, her father, Tony Ciccone, was gripping the wall so hard his knuckles were white. "Dear God," he whispered, "don't let her embarrass herself. Don't let them destroy her." But here's what nobody in that crowd knew. 15 minutes earlier, Madonna had been crying in the bathroom, staring at her paint-covered reflection, begging herself not to go through with it. Look, this is where the real story begins. May 15th, 1967. The St. Frederick's annual talent show was the biggest event of the school year. For a girl from the crowded side of Pontiac, Michigan, the side where having your own bedroom was a luxury, the talent show was like visiting another planet. The smell of popcorn mixed with floor wax, the excited chatter of proud parents, the lights that turned the ordinary gymnasium into something magical. Madonna had watched these shows for years, always as a spectator, face pressed against the back wall, watching other kids receive applause. She couldn't imagine earning. This year was different. This year, she had signed herself up. "But Madonna Louise, you don't have an act," Sister Mary Patricia had said when she'd submitted her name 2 weeks earlier. "I can dance, sister. I dance all the time. That's different. That's just moving around." But Madonna had already written her name on the list. Madonna Louise Ciccone, age 8, East Side, act, modern interpretive dance. Remember this detail. It matters. Madonna had learned to dance from television, watching every variety show, studying every movement. She didn't have formal training. The Ciccone family could barely afford groceries, let alone dance lessons. But something about moving to music made her feel alive, made her forget that her mother was dead, and her stepmother would never replace her. Maybe because dance was about expressing what you couldn't say, and Madonna, even at 8, had things she couldn't say. The morning of May 15th started with disaster. Madonna woke up sick to her stomach, not from illness, but from pure terror. The fear had literally made her physically ill. Her stepmother, Joan, made her eat crackers, gave her ginger ale, held her hair while she threw up twice. By noon, she was pale but determined. By 2 o'clock, when they started loading kids into cars for the evening show, they had borrowed a neighbor's station wagon. She was shaking. "Maybe it's a sign," Madonna whispered. "Maybe I'm not supposed to perform." "Maybe it's fear," Joan countered gently. "Maybe you're just scared, and that's normal." But Madonna wasn't just scared. She was terrified. What she wanted was to make people see her, and there was a difference between wanting attention and knowing how to handle it. But wait, don't skip this part. At the school, Madonna saw the other performers. There was Jennifer Mitchell, who'd been taking ballet since she was 4. Michael O'Brien, whose family could afford piano lessons. Susan Thompson, who sang in the church choir with a voice everyone praised. And then there was Madonna, skinny, intense, wearing a black leotard she'd borrowed without asking, carrying a jar of green paint from her father's basement. "I can't do this, Joan." "Yes, you can. They're all trained. I'm just making it up." "Maybe, but they're not you." The show started at 7 p.m. Madonna was number 16 out of 23 contestants. She watched from backstage as one by one, Kids performed safe, predictable acts. Jennifer performed a ballet routine to classical music. Michael played a simplified Mozart piece without missing a note. Susan sang a hymn that made parents nod approvingly. Notice what happened when contestant number 15 finished. The announcer, Principal Sister Mary Patricia, called out, "Next, from Mrs. Henderson's third-grade class, Madonna Louise Ciccone." Madonna didn't move. "Madonna Louise, are you ready?" Joan pushed her gently toward the curtain. "Go on, baby." Madonna's legs felt like water. The walk to the stage, maybe 15 feet, felt like crossing an ocean. The stairs creaked under her weight. The stage, just wooden planks over the gymnasium floor, seemed to tilt. Or maybe that was just Madonna tilting. Sister Mary Patricia looked at her with surprise and concern. The green paint, the modified leotard, the bare feet. "Madonna Louise, what is your performance?" Madonna opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The crowd started to murmur. Someone whispered loudly, "Not mean, just confused." Madonna saw her classmate Sarah in the third row, already looking embarrassed for her. This was going to be a disaster. She was going to be the girl who froze at the talent show, who couldn't even explain her own act. Then she saw her father. He had moved to where she could see him clearly, standing by the side of the gym. He wasn't praying anymore. He was just looking at her, and in his eyes was something Madonna desperately needed. Not just love, but belief. Belief that his strange, difficult, grieving daughter could do this. Remember, Madonna was barefoot. She'd left her shoes backstage because they felt wrong, borrowed shoes that pinched. So there she stood, barefoot on the wooden stage, and suddenly, that felt right. This wasn't about being perfect like Jennifer, or trained like Michael, or angelic like Susan. This was about being Madonna, the barefoot girl who danced alone in her bedroom, trying to feel something other than sad. "Modern dance," Madonna finally managed to say. "We'll need to start your music, dear." That's when Madonna did something that would become her trademark throughout her life. She took complete control of her performance space. "I don't need music yet, sister. I'll tell you when." The gymnasium went silent. 8-year-olds didn't tell nuns when to start music. But Madonna wasn't trying to be defiant. She was trying to survive. She walked to the center of the stage, positioned herself exactly where she wanted to be, and closed her eyes. Not because she was scared anymore, but because she needed to find the dance inside her. This wasn't just movement and rhythm. It was grief, rage, loneliness, and desperate hope. And she was about to show it to 300 people who expected a cute little girl dance. When she opened her eyes and nodded for the music to start, she'd chosen a modern, almost aggressive song, Nancy Sinatra's "These Boots Are Made for Walkin'." Her body was different from the scared girl who'd walked on stage. The gymnasium went quiet, not the polite quiet of Jennifer's ballet or the respectful quiet of Susan's hymn, but a different kind of quiet. The kind that happens when something unexpected, possibly inappropriate, is occurring. Madonna moved like nothing anyone at St. Frederick's Catholic School had ever seen. She wasn't performing a cute routine. She was expressing something raw, fierce, almost angry. Each movement was sharp, deliberate, challenging. She wasn't dancing like a ballerina. She was dancing like someone who'd seen things, lost things, survived things. Look closer at what happened during the middle of her performance. Madonna's eyes found people in the crowd, not performing at them but dancing at them, like she was making each person acknowledge her existence. Father Morrison, the parish priest, looked alarmed. Sister Mary Patricia stood up, clearly considering stopping this. Even Joan pulled Madonna's younger brother closer, suddenly uncertain. But here's the magic. Nobody talks about Madonna forgot she was scared. Somewhere between the second verse and the third, the frightened girl disappeared, and something else emerged. Not Madonna the superstar, that was decades away, but Madonna the force of nature. Madonna the girl who refused to be invisible. Madonna who could take a simple dance performance and make 300 people feel intensely uncomfortable, which was its own kind of power. The last beat dropped, and Madonna struck her final pose, arms raised, chin lifted, chest heaving, covered in sweat and smeared green paint. For a moment, just a moment, nobody moved. Then something unexpected happened. From the back of the gymnasium, someone started clapping, slowly at first, then building. It was Tommy Ricci, a teenager there to pick up his younger sister, who appreciated what he'd just witnessed, not as a cute performance, but as something genuine and brave. No, I mean she has something real. That wasn't just movement. That was expression. You can't teach expression. It's either there or it isn't. She turned to Madonna. You keep dancing, child. But more than that, you keep expressing. The world has plenty of trained dancers, not enough artists. Madonna never forgot those words. The walk home was different from the walk there. Same station wagon, same May evening, same 3 miles back to their neighborhood. But Madonna sat taller in the back seat. Not because she'd won, she hadn't, but because she'd done it. She'd stood on a stage alone and made strangers feel something. Daddy, can we get dance lessons? Baby, we can't afford lessons. Maybe I could work for them. Clean the studio or something. You're 8 years old. You need to focus on school. But Madonna was already choreographing in her head, imagining herself on bigger stages, in front of bigger audiences, expressing bigger feelings. Remember what happened when they got home? Her older brothers were playing in the yard. She showed them nothing. No certificate, no prize. But her brother Martin noticed something different about her. What happened at the show? I danced. Did you win? No, but I did something. That night, Madonna couldn't sleep. She lay in the bed she shared with her younger sister, holding up her paint-stained hands to catch the moonlight through the window. No award, no recognition, but proof that Madonna Louise Ciccone, the sad girl whose mother had died, could stand on a stage and refuse to be ignored. The immediate effect was subtle but profound. Kids at school looked at her differently, not with respect exactly, but with wariness. Madonna Ciccone, the weird girl who danced at the talent show in green paint. Teachers mentioned it. Madonna, I heard about your performance. Very creative. More importantly, Madonna looked at herself differently. The mirror showed the same skinny girl with the same hand-me-down clothes, but now she knew there was something inside her that could reach people, even if it reached them uncomfortably. Look at what happened 2 months later. Catherine Ross approached the Ciccone family again, this time with an offer of free dance classes in exchange for Madonna helping with the younger students. Tony and Joan agreed, not because they believed Madonna would become a professional dancer, but because the girl needed something, some outlet for the intensity that made her do things like paint herself green and perform barefoot at Catholic school talent shows. The classes changed everything and nothing. Madonna still wasn't the most technically skilled, but she was the most committed, the most expressive, the most willing to risk looking foolish in pursuit of truth. Teachers would say, Madonna, that's not the proper form, and Madonna would say, but this is what it feels like. And sometimes they'd pause, because feeling mattered more than form, and they knew it. But here's the detail that matters most. Every May after that, Madonna would think about the talent show. Even when she was playing stadiums, even when she owned a mansion in New York, even when millions of people knew her name, she'd remember standing barefoot in that gymnasium, covered in green paint, dancing to prove she existed. In 1985, famous now, Madonna was asked about her first performance. She was being interviewed for Rolling Stone, sitting in an expensive hotel wearing designer clothes. "When was the first time you felt powerful?" the interviewer asked. Madonna thought for a long time. "I was 8 years old, barefoot, covered in green paint I'd stolen from my dad's basement. I scandalized my entire Catholic school. Half the audience was horrified. The other half didn't know what to think. I didn't win anything, but I felt powerful. Why? Because I made them look at me. I made them see me. When you're 8 years old and your mother's dead and you feel invisible, being seen, even if they're looking because they're shocked, that's power." The soft truth nobody talks about in 2003, overworked, over-scrutinized, battling for relevance in a youth-obsessed industry. Madonna was backstage before a show. She looked at her elaborate costume, her choreographed routine, her precisely timed production. "You know when I was best?" she asked her dancer, Christopher Ciccone, who also happened to be her brother. "When, Tammy 15th, 1967, 8 years old, green paint, bare feet at St. Frederick's talent show. That was the purest I ever was." "You can still be that." Madonna laughed. Bitter. "No, Chris. You can't go back to the gymnasium. You can't be 8 again, believing that being seen is the same as being loved." But she was wrong about one thing. Every time Madonna performed, through the controversies, through the reinventions, through the decades, there were moments when that 8-year-old girl emerged. Moments when all the machinery of fame fell away, and it was just Madonna and movement, and the desperate need to be witnessed. The girl covered in green paint never really left. She just got buried under designer clothes and contracts and expectations. That's the real story of Madonna's first performance. Not the beginning of a superstar, but a grieving child, discovering she could transform pain into power, invisibility into impact, a simple dance routine into something nobody could ignore. May 15th, 1967. A wooden stage, 300 people, and a girl who would become the queen of pop, but was in that moment just Madonna, barefoot, brave, and absolutely refusing to disappear. She didn't win a prize that night, didn't receive recognition, but she discovered something more valuable, the feeling of standing in front of people who couldn't look away, of moving her body and having it mean something, of watching her father's face shift from concern to something like understanding. That feeling never left. Every stage Madonna ever stood on had that gymnasium floor underneath it, and that barefoot 8-year-old girl dancing in green paint, discovering that being controversial was better than being invisible, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to be appropriate when appropriate means unseen.